Hello, welcome all to the Java sessions. I'm Amrita Oti and today we are going to see access modifiers in Java. In object-oriented programming language, there are different access modifiers. That means whatever the data members and the methods which we are using in the class are having the different access modifiers. That means the different visibility of that methods or the data members throughout the classes or the objects. So let's see what are actually the access modifiers are. The visibility or the access modifiers are the nothing but the keywords that are used to control the accessibility and visibility of the classes, methods, fields, and the constructors within the Java program. They determine which part of a Java program can have a specific members, that is the variables and the methods of a class. By using the access modifiers, you can regulate the level of encapsulation and manage the interaction between the different components of your code. Whenever we are considering the encapsulation, that is binding of the data and the methods together in a class, it is a encapsulation. So how you will bind that or how you will control the visibility of that different parts of the Java program. That means the classes, methods, fields, or the construction. So for that, we are having the access modifiers. So what are the access modifiers in used in the Java or the object-oriented programming? Basically, there are four main access modifier. That is the public, private, protected, and the default. So let's see one by one what are these access modifiers do. First one is the public. As the name suggests, the public is the most accessible modifier. We have the public parks and public, what you can say, the locations where we can go without any permission. So in the Java only, we have a public modifier which can be accessed from any class, from any package. So that is the public class, public access modifier. How I will define the public modifier, public access modifier? Public class, my class. It is a class. If it is a data member, then public integer, any variable name you can give. If it is a method, public void print method. Okay, so that is the public class. So what is the scope of this public modifier? It is having the widest scope, that it can be accessible from any class. For example, a class representing a utility library used across multiple projects. So, many times it is having a utility library where which is can be accessed in the multiple projects throughout the whatever work we are doing. The next modifier is the protected one. So, as the name suggested, it is protected. That means it allows access from the subclass, okay, within the same package or any subclass in the different package. Okay, so that is called as the protected one. How we will define? Instead of public keyword, we are using a protected here, but the scope of this protected variable or protected access modifier is accessible for only the from the subclass or within the same package. Okay, for example, a superclass providing a protected method for its subclass to access the certain method, certain data. That means you are having, if you are having a, data member or a method which is defined in a superclass and you want to access it only in the class which is inherited from it. So at that time you will declare that particular method or the data type as a protected. Okay. The next, we will see the private one. As the name specify, the private, that means it is having the less scope or it is having restricted to that particular class. So that is the private access modifier. It can be accessed only within the class. How you will define? Like what, like the public and protected, we have just mentioned private and then whatever our name of the variable or name of the method. Okay. So this is the, as discussed, the restricted to the same class. And for example, a private helper method used within the class to perform the internal calculations only. Okay, so whatever the helper class we are using, what helper method we are using in the class for performing the calculations, that we can declare that as a private one. So the last one is the default access modifier, or it is also called as the package private. Okay, it is like we have in the public, protected, and the private. It is not having any of the keywords explicitly we have to provide. It just we have to write the name of the variable like int myvar. So as it is a default one, the compiler automatically consider that as a default default variable. It can be accessible within the same package. Okay, and what is the scope? As it is having the same package, so it is accessible only within the same package. For example, classes within the same package collaborating with the each other. If you are not defining any scope for this, it will automatically consider as a default for a class within the same package. Okay, which it has to communicate. Okay, so in the summary table, what we will see. So these are the access modifiers: private, default, protected, and the public. And here are some of the locations or from the from where we can access that. So private variables or private access modifiers can be accessed within the class. Yes, default, as it is having a wider scope, that is after private, that it can be accessible within the class. Protected, yes, and public, of course, yes. Okay, so these access modifiers are step by step. That is, private is the less one, default, protected, and the wider is having the public. Okay, so next we will see within package. So private is accessible within the package, no, while default, protected, and the public can be accessible within the package. Outside package by subclass only. Okay, so for this is the exception. Like default, in the default we cannot access from outside the package. Okay, private, any means it is no. For protected and the public, yes, this can be accessible. And outside the package, only public variables can be accessed outside the package. Other with access modifiers, yes, it is no. Okay, so only public methods or the public variables can be accessed. Public classes can be accessed outside the package. Okay. So now let's see the demonstration of this private, public, and protected default. Okay. So this is a class EX class example having a private salary, public name, protected mobile number, and age as a default one. Okay. So first see, this is the private class example, okay, which is having extending the address. Okay, so let's see one by one. So here I am creating an object of class example, that is this one. Okay, so class ex dot print info. So what is in print info? So I'm just printing whatever the values I have assigned to these variables, to these different variables. So for this, it will print all the variables because it is accessing the variables in the same method. So as it is having the private, public, protected, and it, these all are accessible within the same class, so it will print all the information. Okay, so next see the class example dot salary. Okay, salary, what is salary? Salary is a private one. So if I'm trying to access that salary in the different class, then it will give me a compilation. Okay, this is the compilation error. Salary has the private access in the access modifiers. Okay, in the class example. So you may have got that private members cannot be accessible outside the class. Okay, next, the name. So example, class example dot name. So name is a public one, so I can access it here also. The mobile number and the age. So mobile number is the protected and age is a default one. So I can access that particular here also. So just I will execute this demo. Okay. So here, as this is this I am calling from this method, so it will print all the information. The name, so name and name is a public one, so it will be accessible here. The mobile number and age, as these are protected and default, this can be printed here. Okay, so let's see the different class. Here I have the different class address. Here I am having house number and the address, and here is the person class. Okay, so the person class is extending from the address one, and here it is having only a name variable. And in the main method, I'm just creating the um, object of this address class. And suppose I want to print the sorry, house number. So this is the protected one. So as the access modifier protected is not accessible to the another uh, outside the package, then it will having the compile time error. Okay, have you got that? Okay, house number. So for this, the compiler will complain here because this house number is the protected here. Okay, while the address is public, so it will print the address, right? 123 Pune, Maharashtra, as it is a public. So um outside the class, outside the package, so public variables, public classes can be accessible. Okay, so now, yeah, so we will see the real life example of it. In everyone's house, there are different, what you can say, the different items or the rooms in the house, like hall, bedroom, kitchen, and wardrobe. So for these particular rooms, we will identify the access. Okay. So hall. So anyone can come into hall, anyone can sit. So this is the public area, open and accessible to everyone. Next is a bedroom. Bedroom is something, it is a private space, right? No one, it is not accessible for everyone. So it is only accessible to the owner or the people with the explicit function, permission. Okay. Next is kitchen. Yes, kitchen is something like a shared area or a protected area. It can call, you can call it as a protected member, right? Accessible to the family members or possibly the close friends. So close friends can enter in the kitchen also. It is not entirely public and not entirely a private. So it is a protected one. Okay. Wardrobe. Wardrobe is the package private area. That is a default one. So accessible only to the people living in the same house. That is for the same package. Not visible or accessible from outside the house or outside the package. So wardrobe, you cannot give an access to the outsider, right? Yes. So I think you now have got the clear idea what are the different, how the different access modifiers behave. Okay. So advantages of these access modifiers are encapsulation, modularity, and inheritance. So, as we have already discussed, it encourages the data heading and access through the well-defined methods, so improving the data security. It also allows the modifiers to define and control the access to the various part of program. That means it gives a modularity to the program. And last one is the inheritance. It facilitates the proper inheritance hierarchy by controlling the access to the superclass members, right? While it is having some limitations also. So over improper use of access modifiers can lead to the tightly coupled code and maintenance issue. Access modifiers add the complexity to the code, making it harder to understand and debug. Right? So, if you are adding more access modifiers for the complex code, then it is harder to understand and debug how actually it is behaving. Rigidity. Once access is granted or restricted, it is challenging to change without affecting the other code. Okay, so that rigidity may be a problem. So now let's test your knowledge. Which access modifier allow a class member to accessible from any class in any package? So what will be the option? Public, private, protected, or the default? Yes. So that is the public one. It can be accessible from any class in any package. Next, which access modifier restrict the class member to be accessible only within the same class? Okay, what will be the answer? Yes. It is a private one which restrict the class in the same class. Okay. Next question. Which access modifier allow a class member to be accessible within the same package and by the subclass in the different package? What will be the answer? Yes, protected. Now you have got. Yes. Question 4. If no access modifier is specified for a class member, what level does it have? Okay, it is having a default one. That is a package private, right? Okay, so let's go through this short answer questions. We have already discussed that. Okay, so try to answer these questions. Okay, okay, thank you and happy learning.